Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a story that is as confusing as it is heartbreaking, the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping case. If you've been keeping up with the news at all, you know this case has totally gripped the public's attention. But lately, there's been a ton of speculation and, frankly, a lot of noise. So our goal today is to cut right through all of that. We're going to look strictly at the hard facts confirmed by the FBI, unpack what the family's recent statements actually mean, and get a clear picture of the grim reality of this investigation right now. Let's get right into it.
So you've probably seen it. Savannah Guthrie recently made this incredibly emotional public plea to her sister's kidnappers. And right in the middle of that plea, she used this one very specific, honestly kind of cryptic phrase, "We have done our part." Now, when you broadcast a statement like that to the world during a live kidnapping crisis, people are going to analyze every single syllable. And this phrase, it immediately raised a massive wave of questions. I mean, what exactly is their part? Section 1. The cryptic public plea.
Let's break down why those 5 words sparked such wild public speculation. On the surface, hearing a family say "we have done our part" creates this huge information gap, right? And human nature being what it is, we try to fill in the blanks. When a family says they fulfilled their end of a bargain in a kidnapping, the public naturally jumps to one conclusion: they paid a ransom. People immediately assume the Guthries had secretly communicated with the kidnappers, wired the money, and were just waiting for Nancy to be dropped off. It's a totally logical guess based on how these things usually play out in movies.
Section 2. Did they pay a ransom? But to get to the truth, we gotta push those rumors aside and look at what the FBI is actually saying. While the widespread assumption is that ransom money exchanged hands, the FBI has officially confirmed that is literally false. Absolutely zero money has been paid to the kidnappers by the family. On top of that, they confirmed that not a single dime has even been deposited into any sort of ransom account by the Guthries.
The digital evidence backing this up is actually pretty wild. So the kidnappers included a Bitcoin address in their very first ransom note. When the FBI looked into that digital wallet, they found exactly one transaction. Months ago, the FBI themselves dropped a couple $100 into that account. It was basically a tactical trap, trying to trace the transaction and ID whoever set it up. Unfortunately, that trace totally failed. But the main takeaway here is this. Aside from that little FBI maneuver, the balance is untouched. The family's contributions sit firmly at $0.
Section 3. The actual meaning.
So if the FBI data proves they didn't pay a ransom, what on earth did Savannah mean when she looked at the cameras and said they'd done their part? Well, she was talking about a staggering number, $1 million. The Guthrie family has officially put up a $1 million reward, but notice the distinction here because it's absolutely crucial. This isn't a ransom being handed over to hostage takers, it's a massive financial reward set aside for information that leads to recovering Nancy. When Savannah said they did their part, she meant they secured a life-changing amount of money to offer anyone willing to talk. By phrasing it like this, Savannah was intentionally casting a much, much wider net. She wasn't just talking to the kidnappers, she was sending a distress signal out to literally anyone who might have info. We're talking associates, neighbors, anyone in the criminal underworld who maybe heard a whisper. The family is signaling loud and clear that they've put a massive financial incentive on the table, and it is completely independent of the ransom demands.
Section 4. The tragic reality.
Now, to really grasp the weight of this financial plea, we have to look at the incredibly dark reality of where this investigation stands today. There have been 2 ransom notes in this case, and after careful analysis, the FBI believes they're both likely genuine. But it's the second note that just completely shifts the tone of everything. According to sources, that second note references specific details that strongly suggest Nancy Guthrie tragically died during the very first week of her kidnapping. So this isn't just a rescue mission anymore. The evidence points toward a devastating loss of life almost right out of the gate. Knowing what they know from those notes, the family's plea takes on an entirely different level of heartbreak. They are now tragically pleading just for the return of Nancy's remains. They've described their daily life right now as a continuing nightmare that does not let up. They're essentially trapped in this agonizing limbo, unable to mourn properly, just begging for the basic human decency of having their loved one returned.
Section 5. Why speak out now?
Which brings us to a really important question about investigative strategy. Why did Savannah choose yesterday, specifically, to make this heavy public statement? It really comes down to the timeline of a major federal investigation. Think about it. Week 1 is when they believe Nancy likely passed away. Fast forward to month 6. This week actually marks the grim 6-month anniversary of the kidnapping. And in the world of criminal investigations, 6 months is a terrifying milestone.
It's the threshold where a case officially crosses over from a fresh, active search into going cold.
And here's the thing about those anniversaries, the FBI actively encourages families to use them. It's a calculated move. As time passes, the news cycle moves on, and people just naturally forget. So law enforcement likes to use these specific markers, like a 6-month anniversary, to yank the narrative right back into the public spotlight. They're hoping to reignite interest, maybe spark someone's memory, and shake loose new leads that time might have buried.
This massive push for awareness is vital right now because the FBI has confirmed a pretty devastating fact. There is zero progress being made. It's at a complete standstill. They literally do not know where Nancy is, they have no idea who the kidnappers are, and they don't know where those kidnappers are hiding. Despite the notes and the digital trace attempts, the trail has just evaporated.
So this leaves us with the ultimate question as we look at where things stand. With the investigation officially cold and law enforcement totally stalled out, will a $1 million reward finally be enough? When a family says, "We have done our part," they are basically throwing the ball into the public's court. Will that unprecedented amount of money finally break the silence and bring Nancy Guthrie home? It's a heavy question for sure, but it is exactly what this entire case hinges on now. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep this story in mind, because sometimes shining a spotlight is the only tool left to uncover the truth.